I want to show you guys this. We ended up getting this vehicle from another shop, and that vehicle ended up going to an auction, and then the auction sent it back to the shop, and then the shop sent it to us or something like that. But we often get these weird situations where we have to try to figure out what other people's problems are, and we have to go through these vehicles, and we have to try to be a detective because they don't tell us everything. Some shops don't know, and a lot of shops, they frankly just don't care, and they just give it to you and they say, well, it came from an auction house, just fix it, whatever it takes, or just do the minimum. Well, let's take a look at this vehicle. This vehicle here was in an accident. Nobody told us it was an accident, but it was. This connector here on the front of the transmission that goes to the valve body was all chopped up and broken and everything else. And you can see up here, there's a bunch of spliced in wires right there. That's because we had to put a new connector and stuff in it because whoever had it before broke the connector and broke the body of it, the latching mechanism and stuff. And then you get to looking around and you're like, huh, something ain't right here. Something looks weird. Why does it look like, okay, that's a good factory turbo. Come back here. Well, that don't look right. Oh, they got a junkyard turbo on it. So they put a junkyard turbo on it. Okay, no big deal. And then I'm looking around and I said, that's a pretty big kink in that drain line. It looks like it was bent some way, sure. Okay, it's a junkyard transfer case. And look down here after the subframe is out. Wow, that's all caved in right there. That's all sucked in. That's supposed to be a flat bottom. It's supposed to sit like this, but it's kicked up and pushed in. So the bolt, when it was coming out of the subframe, it actually walked out of the subframe like this when you were backing up side to side. And then I get to looking up the frame. Oh crap. They like welded a patch panel in there and pulled it out and slapped some putty and silicone and stuff on it and painted it white. What the heck? What the heck is that? Wow, that's terrible. Okay, that don't. You can even see some of the weld wire that they left inside as they were trying to weld it up there. Let's see if I can get a better picture. Yeah, so that didn't look right. And then it started making me look around even more. Huh. That looks like that one. None of that's lining up correctly and bolted in. Huh. Okay. Come over here. And that looks tweaked, like the subframe was pushed back. Oh, wow. Well, it was. It's all crushed in right there. And then I start looking back up here. I can see where the engine made impact with the back. It's like in this area right here, right up above. This thing was hit so hard it shifted the motor back into the firewall, and it actually cracked the front cover and broke the motor mount. They put a new motor mount in it and siliconed an entire like 6-inch by 4-inch area of the front cover where it was cracked to stop the oil from coming out of that area, just to get it through auction. Back of the firewall, it made indentations all along the firewall. This is curved up a little bit. Smashed in and made impact in here. Yeah. Broke some of these, broke that weld away and that weld away partially. Yeah, somebody's gonna get a great vehicle. So we have to go through and figure these things out and figure out how to put all these back together and just do what we're getting paid for. And then when we give it back to the people that are selling it, it's up to them on whether or not they want to take the legal repercussions for whether it's safe to be on the road or not. But unfortunately, this is the type of stuff we deal with sometimes. This vehicle should not be on the road, or they should be fixed properly before it's put on the road. But unfortunately, sometimes it's third-party companies that are bringing us the vehicle to get it fixed, and they're just being contracted to get it fixed, and there's an auction house somewhere that's selling it. And it is what it is, and it's sad that this is the type of stuff that's out there on the road sometimes. Here's another vehicle I'm working on that it's not going to be fixed correctly. So how this works is the front control interface module communicates with the IPC, and then the IPC communicates with the body control module down there, and then it talks on the MS CAN network to the HVAC control module, which then tells it to turn on the blower. Well, my wires are good from there to the IPC, and my wires are good from the IPC to the body control module. But my wires leaving the body control module going over to the HVAC module somewhere back in the dash, they're open or smashed. They're shorted. And when you check the terminating resistance of the circuit on the body control module side, you get 120 ohms. When you check the terminating resistance of the HVAC control module up underneath the radio here, you get 120 ohms. When you put the two together in circuit, you get about 60 to 65 ohms, which is in spec. When you test the circuit with all the modules plugged in to confirm you have an open, you've got 125 ohms. And what I mean by that is when you go to pins 3 and pin 11, you test the entire circuit with everything plugged in, it's got to open in the wiring harness. You got 125 ohms. When you read that module, HVAC module, and you read that module together on the circuit, it cuts the resistance in half. The terminating resistors then will show, with both terminating resistors online, about 60 to 65 ohms ballpark. What you end up reading here is 125. That means there's an open somewhere, or you've got a bad terminating resistor for one of the modules. It's not the module, because I can individually test the connection right at the module, both of them, and I get 120 ohms, which is in spec. But when you add them together with wiring, bring it to the OBD port, and you test pin 3, pin 11, you get 125. They're supposed to split the resistance when they're in the circuit together and operating correctly. And it should be about 60 to 65 when testing, which confirms my individual terminating resistor is good on both sides, but my wiring in between is not. And randomly, you get these lights, they just turn right back on. They'll turn off and then they turn on. They turn off and then they turn on. And then I get to searching around inside this, and I'm like, oh, what is that over there? That's where the floor got crushed in, and that whole panel and stuff got crushed in. They pulled it all back out and just shitty welded it all back together. But the customer didn't tell us anything about that. So I come over here to this side. I'm looking back in here. I'm like, oh, look at the connector and the door jamb right there all busted in two. And then the white paint and the muck that was sprayed down inside that to get it pulled back out. And then you can see the separation of the foam sealant and the body sealer where it would normally be. It's pulled away. And I pull the carpet back here. I'm like, oh, that's cute. So basically the customer doesn't want to put any more money into it, because I told him at this point, with my resistance readings showing me that the terminating resistors from each module are good, when you have a complete circuit between that network, they basically cut down to 60 ohms, and I can test one terminating resistor in the module for the BCM, it's fine, and then I could go to the HVAC module, it's fine, but I've got no communication between the two. Something on this network somewhere in this harness is bad. The modules themselves are good. You've got some bad wiring. And then I lay down underneath the driver's side area and I look up, and you can see that this was a cop car, and they disabled this cop car and chopped it all up, taking the cop car stuff out of there and just tucked wires up under the dash crazy all over the place. Even some of the cop car wires that are not hooked to anything anymore still in there that I had to clean up and get out of there just so you can work underneath it, that no longer function, don't do anything. So it's a decommissioned cop car at 48,000 miles. So this thing was in a bad enough accident to where they probably did the minimal to get it back together, and at least where the doors were closing good, did some shitty welds, slapped some paint and some sealer, some seam sealer and stuff on it, and sent it and said, just don't worry about it, don't put a lot of time into it, just get it through the auction, somebody will buy it, and then it will be their problem. Unfortunately, the customer doesn't have any more money to put into it now that I've confirmed what's going on with the system. He just wants the vehicle back the way it is, and says he's probably going to end up getting rid of the vehicle. It's a nice ride too. 3.7 all-wheel drive Ford Taurus, 48,000 miles. Engine's really clean. Just needs a dash harness, which is about $450 and about 8 to 10 hours labor. He doesn't want to do it. Oh well. Next, y'all be blessed. Take care. This is some kind of the silly stuff that we get involved in. Sometimes the customers know, and sometimes they don't know. Unfortunately, we'll never know whether they did or not most of the time. Take care, guys.